Hi everyone, good day. Yeah, my name is Damlola Ogodino, and this is my semester project for environmental health. So, looking at the picture, the first picture here, we've got the plastic bag, paper bag, then the reusable tote bag, and that's why I've titled this "From Disposable to Sustainable: Healing Ecosystem Through Reduction of Plastic and Paper Footprint." Yeah, background. So the convenience that comes with use of papers, use of plastics is something that has become a part of us that we do on a um daily basis. And from grocery bags to take out containers, the napkins that disposable. However, we cannot shy from the fact that this waste actually accumulates in our oceans, harming marine life as well as harm our ecosystem because paper production requires a lot of woods, which leads to deforestation and habitat loss. So, by sharing this my personal journey, I aim to inspire others to adopt similar practice and contribute to a more sustainable lifestyle. As a way of introduction, a lot of paper products and plastic products on a day-to-day activity, and this semester-long journey is to help me minimize our consumption of these products, contributing to an healthier ecosystem. This is an image showing the waste and how they impact our ecosystem. You can see combination of papers, plastic, and all of that because they are single use basically. Immediately after they are being used, they are being dumped around, they are being dumped in the marine. Some flows into our stream, contaminating our water and all of that. And beyond that, some of them even having to use them to microwave them, they release some chemicals which are not healthy to us as human. My journey is focused on three main things. Number one, embracing the reusable. So I replace single-use items like grocery bags, produce bag with alternative. I mean, tote bags and all of that, clothes, napkin. Then the second thing that I was able to do through this project was to have a mindful consumption. So while shopping, I prioritize things that, I mean, products that have minimal packaging, minimal plastic packaging, and what is actually needed at that point in time. And thirdly, I prioritize reuse and responsible disposal. I will prioritize containers that can actually wash and reuse them over and over again than the one that can just use a single time. So, statement is that paper and plastics pollution has become significant environmental issues, just like I've mentioned earlier, even though we can't shy from the fact that the use of paper products and plastic products is for our convenience, but at the same time, it disrupts the ecosystem and contributes to resource depletion. This is an image saying say no to single-use plastic. So, moving on, the objective. I've got three objectives basically. The first one is to be able to track daily consumption of disposable plastics, paper items, and reusable and recyclable materials throughout the 3 month study period. Number two is to calculate my total weekly waste production by weighing all generated waste in pounds, and also design and execute a self-monitoring intervention likely. And lastly was to create a visual representation of waste data to identify the shift in disposal habits and material composition over time. So my methodology. So this semester project was for a period of 12 weeks, and I implemented a structured approach to track and reduce my single-use plastic and paper consumption. So I began by establishing a baseline. The baseline started from the first week to the sixth week, where I was documenting every of my single-use plastic and paper items I used, including grocery bags, produce bags, sticker containers, and all of that. And after the sixth week, I started the intervention period where I started reducing many of these single-use products. And this is a table showing the data collected. This reflects the single-use plastic products, single-use paper products, tracking solid waste generation, and tracking recyclables. So talking about my weekly experience, the first week was my first it was still a period of just resuming to the US. I'm in Springfield, and over time I found myself using a lot of single-use products because it was my first time and I had a temporary place to stay. So I couldn't cook, I couldn't do a lot of things. I had to go to supermarkets. I went to Walmart and Aldi to get a lot of groceries. And at the end of the day, I accumulated a lot of what's it called, shopping bag, grocery plastic. I have to order food most of the time, so I've got all these sandwich paper bags and all of that because it was just my first month. I mean, first week rather, and the second week. During my second week, I started getting worried about how much food containers that I've accumulated over time in my trash bin. And at times, I even think about the side effects of having to microwave this plastic, talking about chemicals that can easily seep into my food. But then I didn't have an option. I just had to just continue, even though it got me bothered a bit. But because it was just a temporary setup, I had to do that, and I was also tracking it. And of course, I needed some new items. I had to order from Shein and Amazon, and they come in boxes, so adding to my paper products as well. This is an image showing my cereal boxes, my box from the eater, the packages that I ordered, I got from FedEx, Amazon, and all of that. So during the third week, it was actually another week entirely that was fun, but at the same time challenging, because this third week, at that point in time, I had moved into my apartment, but it was that same week that my roommates had a birthday, and we've got a lot of friends come together, which means that we had to use more paper products for sandwich and all of that, and also bottles, cups and all of that, which actually on the long run added to this waste. Now, this is an image showing some of the takeout containers, the soda cups. Then these are plastic bottles from waters, the juice, and all of that. Now, for the week 4, it became a reality because at that time I still have some of the plastics and all of that, and I saw that we had a lot of plastic bags. And even when I go out to have my takeout, at times I end up having extra paper napkins, extra spoons, because of course they come in handy when you are in school, you are everywhere, you can easily pick them. But at the same time, it doesn't dispute the fact that they contribute to our environmental pollution and all of that. So even there were plastic packages from fruits, vegetables, seasoning, and looking at it, I can see how everyday habits has actually accumulated to become everyday choice and something that can actually impact the environment. The week 5 was more eye-opening because I visited a local market where I got some fruit and vegetable. The shopping trip just opened my eyes more to see how much more everyday buying everyday products like plastics and paper can contribute to waste basically. And these were the pictures. This week was the last week before the intervention, so even in as much as I had a lot of products that are being delivered to me in takeout and all of that, there are some other paper products like the receipts. When I go for grocery shopping, most of the time I will always request for receipts. Where I had the alternative of getting it electronically, I will always request for my physical mail in my mailbox. Even in my mailbox, I had a lot of magazines. I've got a lot of catalogs, flyers that can actually be sent to me through my phone. But I didn't realize this until I started this project basically. And at that point in time, I started looking at the way forward on reducing on this. The week 7 was the first week of intervention, and at this point in time, all those bottled water that I was using, I stopped it. So I replaced it with a bottled, reusable bottled water. And instead of getting a crate of small bottles, I just got one. Then I fill my bottle over time. And this is an image showing my favorite study bottles that I was using. Then the week 8 was focused more on my kitchen, and this this particular week I addressed my plastic problem in two angles. First was I decided I was not going to be buying wrapped snacks again, and I stopped it. I started making my own homemade snacks, homemade meal, because at that point in time I was in my house already. I've got food items that I could actually, then aside from that, I just thought about it that in a way it's even more healthier because I can control the number of calories that I have in there and all of that, which is actually a win-win for me. And the other thing that changed was my trash. Usually I'll use the 13 gallon size of trash bag, but as from the week 8 I started seeing changes, and I just had just few trash basically, and I resorted into using the 4 gallon trash. And before, I usually use the 13 gallons, and I dispose them about twice in a week, so which was much of a big deal for me. This is the image 9 showing the trash bags basically. Then for week 10 and 11, aside from that, majority of my grocery shopping, because I'm being mindful of my consumption, I didn't have to go for grocery shopping over time because I've got items that I can cook at home. And if at all I have to go for shopping, I have to take my own shopping bag, which is actually a reusable tote bag, and it's a lot. Another game changer was, I most of the time I will have my own container that is reusable. I will always wash. Take for instance, I'm going out with my friend. I always put it in my bag in case I have leftovers and I really want to eat them on getting home. I'll pack in there rather than use the disposable take out container. And I was surprised. This is an image showing the tote bag that I was using then. So the week 12 was actually a good one. It was my birthday week as well, and I had my friend surprise me with some gift items and all of that. But that was not the highlight. The highlight basically was them being intentional, being thoughtful, because they know what I was working on. And it's surprising to think that what I was actually working on as an habit has actually extended to them, and they are ready to embrace it. So instead of the usual plastic bottles of soda, they brought homemade juice in a glass dispenser. I mean, that's a big deal for me, because a small details shows that they have been paying attention to my effort as well. Although the cake still came, Walmart cake still came in a plastic packaging. I can't win them all, but I was so impressed about their consideration, talking about the drinks and all of that. So this is the juice dispenser. This is also a juice dispenser. Then this was the cake, a plastic package cake. Now, talking about the data collection, I documented my waste pattern over a period of 12 weeks, segmenting it into the baseline, initial phase, as well as intervention phase. From week 1 to 6 was the initial phase, then and week 7 to 12 was the intervention phase. And both phases, I was recording them every day in a logbook, which I will now, at the end of the week, I transfer to my Excel basically. I also tracked some specific things like how much of trash bags I was using, and then I also weighed them. And after these 4 6 weeks, I really focused on cutting back on all of those things by having a substitute for them. And I was actually intentional about monitoring myself. The results from the spreadsheets here, you can see, like I said earlier, this particular data I have in blue area, the initial phase data. While, and if you look at it and compare with the one in brick red, there's a lot of change when it comes to what I have on the data, and that is to show you the impact of my cutting down habits on paper and plastic. And beyond that also, I have what's the name, I have a table. This table is showing the single-use plastic products. So basically, during the baseline, I was using excessive plastic items like 23 grocery bags, 11 takeout containers. I have it on the table. But after the intervention began to drop to one per week, then take out container, maybe just one basically. And overall, I reduced my plastic consumption by 90%. This also showed the single-use paper products, which was actually reduced significantly to 50% after intervention. This chart here talks about, is showing the baseline of the amount of the trash bag that I used During the baseline or the initial phase, I used the large 13-gallon trash bag about 2 to 3 times weekly. Wow, and it generated about 14 to 26 pounds of waste. You can imagine that's quite high. And after the intervention, I switched to a smaller gallon bags basically and dramatically reduced them. And I have a dual axis chart here that shows the waste with bars showing weekly totals and a line showing cumulative percentage of total recyclables in there. Now, this pie chart basically show the composition of my waste, and from this, we have the highest being in the blue, which dominates 23% of total waste, followed by the week 3. I made mention that week 3 was my roommate's birthday, so we had a lot of waste from there. And next is week 2, which is 12%. Everything from week 6, the weeks are represented in colors here. You see that everything reduced like drastically. And after the intervention, each waste contribution reduced significantly. And that's to tell you how impactful this journey was. The overall experience for me, it wasn't just about collecting data. I've realized that thousands of items that I used to just throw out within a second thought, and the most challenging part was not even calculating the data. It was how to cut down on this habit, because something that I was used to over time. But then I was able to do it. And even data collection was a bit difficult for me because I had to go to class. Sometimes I'm outside, I've used the plastic and I'll forget to even document it. However, I switched to having a logbook that I take along with me. So immediately I use those products with paper or plastic products. I just document it, then I transfer it to my Excel on getting home. And for the intervention phase, the challenge that I faced was the social part of it, because at times when I bring out my bottle, my friends laugh at me. Because although over time they got used to it, and they had a mind shift about it. And lastly was the part of money that I saved. I'm an impulse buyer. When I go for grocery shopping and all of that, I just want to buy anything. But because I had it at the back of my mind, I want to cut down on a particular habit. It saved me a whole lot of time. It saved me tons of dollars. And I will explain that further, that if I continue this for a year, my plastic items will reduce to, based on the current calculation, 20 per week, a total of 1,040 plastic items per year, compared to what it would have been before the intervention, like 10,004. The paper products will reduce to 520 paper items per year, compared to what it would have been like 2006. And the trash generated would have been 208 pounds for a year, compared to what it would have been before intervention, which is 1,092 pounds per year. That means that I saved 9,360 plastic items, 2,080 paper products, and 884 pounds of waste annually. Financially, I saved up to 160 and to 260. I would have saved up to 160 to 260 per dollars per year. So for me, this experience was actually, it was actually an eye opener for me, and for it makes me feel like, yes, I was able to conquer the challenge. And in conclusion, the 12 weeks journey shows the pattern of behavioral change, that once there's an awareness and you are intentional about it, you can reduce individual environmental impact basically. And also there's an interconnection between the environment and human health, because by reducing exposure to those plastic, you reduce exposure to BPA in plastic bottles and chemicals in food packaging items. So I also improved on my personal health while protecting the environment. And from a public health perspective, these projects reflect a larger truth that individual action, when multiplied across communities, will lead to significant environmental health basically. And most importantly, this personal transformation rippled outwards to influence my social circle, like I mean my friends. And this project has shown me that the path to sustainability begins with single actions. I mean consciousness. It begins with you, it begins with me, then there will be a mind shift to ensure that everyone, even the globe is healthy basically. And these are my references. Thank you.